Okay. Well, so the news broke. Well, when I say the news broke, I'm really thinking about state police, but that's not the news that broke. The news that broke was that the president was fully in support of state police. In fact, the time is now, and we can't delay it any further. Well, the matter is actually at the committee stage in the House of Representatives, and it's been said by many that state police might not be a good thing. Well, that's not the view of the president. There are those who are saying that, yes, we do need. So what is the problem with state police in the minds of, opinions out there? Well, I suppose the most obvious one is that the governors will now have far too much control over, the police, and will use them in their own way. And this is not going to be anything good for us. That's the way they are looking at it. But the president has said that we cannot be, since the president has now come out fully in support of it, well, I guess we have to start looking at it again as to how, how useful this is going to be. One moment, please. Well, there's a National Interest Coalition. It's holding a briefing to pass the vote of confidence on President Tinubu's and EFCC Live. That's just telling you very late. I was told very late myself that this is what's going to be going on. So if you miss us from here, those that do know how to do it, please check us out on our channel on YouTube, and we can just continue with the program. So as I was saying, where we are, as they've gone. About this whole concept of state police, that is no more to be controlled centrally. Of course, it brings up a number of questions or issues for consideration. So what will be the reporting line of the police? One of the things about the current system we have is that everybody reports, all the policemen, everybody, they report right up to the Inspector General of Police. So I don't know, are we going to have inspector generals by whatever name they are given, at the state level, very much as something like you have the chief judge of a state and then you have a chief justice of the federation. Those are the kind of issues that, will be needed. The president has said that he's fully prepared for it. He has assured the police, all of this was when a delegation from Katsina visited him, and the crime there, he said that we're not going to be standing for that anymore. The thing is, we do have to have state police, but as I said, there's a lot of commentary on whether it is the right thing to do, whether Nigeria has developed up to that level. But as I said, the president must have been giving this most thought. In fact, I doubt that there's anybody who's been thinking about this more than Mr. President himself, and he has said that the time is now. The new, shall we say, thrust that state policing will get in Nigeria. This is against the backdrop of the president declaring that, and I'm quoting directly here in one of the newspapers, you would have seen it either on television or heard it yourself. I am reviewing all aspects of security. I have to create state police. And that's quite a strong statement. I mean, and I'm very happy at how clear and powerful that statement is from the president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I have to create state police. We're looking at it holistically. That's another very, very important word, because a lot of the attachments to the idea, shall we say, need to be ironed out. How is it going to work? I've heard some commentators speaking about the whole matter of the reporting line, the control. So who are they going to be responsible to? Well, I don't know. You're watching this. One can just think, before they bring on the actual, they've sorted it out and tell us how it's going to be, it probably will be to the most senior police officer in the state, and that, for his part, will also report to the governor. Oftentimes you have instances where state governors see a security situation or a situation that involves the police like that and want to action it. But then we've had police officers say that, "I'm very sorry, sir, with due respect, sir, I don't report to you," even if they didn't use those exact words. What they are saying is that the order of the governor that they are getting, they should please be forgiven, but they can't do anything about it because they take their orders elsewhere. Now, that won't be the case once you have state police. I suppose the idea is that with state police, local citizens who become policemen know the terrain and therefore will be much more effective. Certainly, this is what the president must be thinking about, because in that statement of, "I have to create state police and we are looking at it holistically," what it does mean is that the president has given long thought to it. So why is there this sort of slightly being out of sync in the sense that a lot of people are saying, no, Nigeria is not ripe for state police? I don't know. We'll have an expert who will talk about such matters. So how does one become ripe for police? Part of the problem, I think, is that Nigeria police has not been seen to be serving the citizenry, serving ordinary people. It has been felt that the Nigeria police serve the powerful, the mighty, the high and the mighty. That's who they serve. It might be a misleading picture, but you see them, being a security detail to some big man or even his wife. All of these, one doesn't know that these things won't continue to happen when we do have state police. But these are the issues: control, and how this control will indeed be of benefit to the crime-fighting situation is what remains to be seen. Is it that now that we will have state police, it's at the committee stage at the moment in the National Assembly, is it that now we will somehow become a lot better at doing our job or not? Those are the kind of issues that people are talking about and indeed are worrying themselves about. That Nigeria, we're not yet ready. Mr. President said we must do it now. He has also said that they will be enabled along with the forest guards. He's particularly thinking about bandits that come out of the forest and terrorize the whole environment. That what Mr. President has said and is out there in the public is that we will empower the forest guards and the state police. There will be drones, and whatever newfangled kind of equipment that is required for the successful execution of their job. That's how it's going to be. As I said, well, those in diaspora can see us. It'll be interesting to hear what you think, because most of our people in diaspora, they don't, their experience of local police, it's not what we are fearing here. They have their boundaries. They have how all these things are be separated, especially in America, for instance. You know, they have their own county police, and they're very, very conscious of the different jurisdictions between one state and the other, and knowing how far they can go. Those are the kind of things that one is sort of used to there. How will we bring this here? Well, Mr. President has thought about it, and I suppose as we go along, it shall be unfolding. In fact, in the National Assembly, when it comes to public hearings, people will go in there and also offer their, their thoughts as well on this whole matter. But it's exciting enough, depending on how you look at it, that Nigeria is considering, after all, this was a motion that was moved in the National Assembly in the House of Representatives to amend the Constitution so as to allow this. And as I said, it's a matter well in progress. Mr. President has said we shall do whatever needs to be done. Hello, okay, Dr. Ofoyeton. We do have Dr. Tony Ofoyeton on, I believe. I think Dr. Ofoyeton. Good morning, Dr. Ofoyeton.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
This is Dr. Tony Ofoyeton. I've claimed him. The DG, International Institute of Professional Security. Thank you very much for coming on. A lot of people seem to be excited about the notion that Mr. President has thrown his weight behind the whole idea of a state police, and there are still doubting Thomases who are saying that I don't think that's a very smart move. They say Nigeria is not yet ready for state police. So, Dr. Ofoyeton, where would you, on what side would you weigh in on?
Good morning, Egbon, and thank you for having me on this program. Egbon, you would have, if you look back, you would have seen that on several occasions, I have advocated for state policing a long time ago. It's long overdue. I'm particularly excited because I'm a strong advocate of state policing. If you remember, there was a time like, look, if we have state policing, it will be easier for you to curtail the excesses of criminals and terrorists. As we speak today, the federal police, they are doing excellently well, but the avalanche of security challenges are so much to the extent that there's the necessity to break it down into smaller component units. There's no problem if we have such a structure in such a manner that it has its own organogram, that state police does not become absolutely free, but their freedom is to a large extent, just like you have FBI or CIA, especially FBI, can come into any state in the United States. They can take over any matter once they think that that matter is of national interest. Now, in the absence of that, I think that it will make a big wall of difference. If you look at our streams, our villages, our hamlets and the like, those that understand their terrain better are the people within those domestic areas. Bringing somebody from Maiduguri, from Kano to come and police Abeokuta, to come and police a town in Ondo, or bringing somebody from Ondo to go right into Makurdi village. You see, yes, I agree to the extent that they may, over time, begin to understand that terrain, but they can never understand the terrain as much as the indigenous and the citizens of those places. And that is why, state policing is very veritable as we speak. The fear is always that our politicians will use state police to intimidate their opponents and the like. And I say, as we speak today, our politicians that have the might, are you saying they cannot use federal police to suppress their antagonists and the like? So if we are seeing it at that federal level, it simply means that our fear as far as state policing is not veritable, it's not. Then you now look at the issue of funding. Nigeria today, almost all states in Nigeria, they have their own arm of what you call it security. In form of a Lagos State Neighborhood Watch, Last Man, Sokoto Marshal, Ebubeagu, the Castina, whatever. A lot of them all over the country today, they already have their own form of state policing. The only difference is that they don't call them police and they are not bearing arms for now. That's the difference. So that means that the state government are already paying salaries to those that are already working in whatever form of name or nomenclature you want to put it. So the issue of funding is no longer there. So that means that as we speak today, the only difference is that the federal government now have to now do what? Legitimize, legalize, and arm them. Now, when they are well armed, I can tell you that terrorism will reduce to the barest minimum in many states. In many states, it will reduce to its barest minimum. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, it's a welcome development. In short, I'm ready to be in the forefront of that advocacy further than what Mr. President has decided to do. It's a beautiful welcome development. It's something we have anticipated and expected before now.
So we would have to, talking about this idea in the future, when it becomes operational, we would have to recruit, policemen into these state forces, or would it be, first of all, that policemen, and I'm sure they have this federal character in how they recruit policemen, would it be that they would sort of, every policeman from whatever state would find himself within the police setup in his own state?
I may not be very exact as to the modus operandi, but I expect that there will be a choice, just like you had, in those days where you have a regional administrative system, and then you now have the federal civil service coming, and each civil servant were encouraged, those of you that want to go and serve in your state and those that want to remain. I expect that most probably that formula may be adopted, where you have those that want to say, okay, I want to join my state police force, will be deployed back automatically to their state, and those that want to remain will remain. There are tactical forces that must remain at the federal level. There are investigative forces that must remain at the federal level, because there are offenses that are federal in nature. And since they are federal in nature, it simply means that it is the federal police that will have jurisdiction over such offenses. Now, there are offenses that have to do with our borders. There are offenses that have to do with currencies. There are offenses that have to do with terrorism and terrorism in terms of, territorial, infiltration and the like. Now, some of this may have to be exclusive of the federal police. But those domestic crimes and criminality, then the state police will take over at that level. But what I expect is that police that are interested in serving in their state may be asked to go back to their state. And though, like I said, in most states today, they already have standing police force. The only thing is that they have not named them police.
Thank you. It just froze for a moment there, but Tony is going to be right back.
As far as I'm concerned, is the least of all considerations.
Oh, okay. Indeed. The matter of reporting lines, there are those who have wondered, so how will they report? To what superior authority will they be reporting? Ultimately, the governor, when we have state police, will be like, the governor is, I suppose, the first citizen of his state. But I had made just before you had come on, I had said that maybe it's going to be something like in the legal profession where you have the Chief Justice of the Federation, he's in Abuja, but then you have the Chief Judge of each state as a kind of very rough kind of a comparison with what might happen.
I think with respect to reportage, it's not going to be a big problem because each state will have its own commissioner of police, and the commissioner of police is expected to be to work with the governor now as the chief security officer of that state, as it were. Now, what I expect, I'm not too sure of what the organogram may eventually look like, but what I am expecting is that there may be a regional head, and there may also be the Inspector General of Police. I expect that maybe there should be a regional Deputy Inspector General of Police, Northwest, Deputy Inspector General of Police for each of the 6 geopolitical zones, and they also will superintend over all the states within their own jurisdiction. Then, of course, the Inspector General of Police. But I also expect that in terms of jurisdiction, crime will now become a major issue, because they now have to define felonies and misdemeanor exclusively under the jurisdiction of the state police, when it comes to, maybe things like treasonable felonies and the like. So treasonable felonies and the like may now be under the exclusive jurisdiction of the federal police. Now, when it comes to certain crime, like I mentioned, for example, maybe crimes on things that join us together as a nation. Currency is one of it. Maybe, custom could also be one of it that joins us together that have not been departmentalized. Now, the state police may have exclusive jurisdiction over such matters. Yes. So when you now talk about international crimes, like you have the Interpol and the like, then we may now be looking at federal policing. But every other crime may be within the state's jurisdiction. But once it comes to boundary issues, I expect that it most likely would be within the jurisdiction of federal police. The fact that we are going to have state police does not mean the extinction of federal policing system. But in terms of organogram, I think the organogram is going to go with the nature of crime and criminality at the end of the day.
Well, thank you very much, Tony. Really appreciate your coming on. Tony Ofoyeton, Dr. Tony Ofoyeton, Director General of the International Institute of Professional Security in Nigeria. We've been joined by Dr. Jonathan Onoja, security expert and public intellectual, as well as public affairs analyst. Good morning to you, Dr. Onoja.
Good morning to you, Uncle Yori. Thank you for having me again on your program.
Our pleasure, sir. So the president, at least for the first time, publicly and verbally has thrown his weight behind the whole idea of state police, even as others, are being apprehensive that, are we sure we're not what we're doing here? So let me ask you, do you think state police is a good idea? Are you among those who are saying, yes, it is a good idea, or those who are saying that we're not ready for it yet?
Yes, state police in its, on its own, on its concept, it's a very wonderful idea, considering our over-centralized security architecture in this country. We've been agitating for a decentralized security architecture, and this is where state policing comes to bear. But again, there are so many issues that I think we need to sort out first before we talk about state policing. The reforms that is still ongoing, I think we need the Nigerian police to be at the front burner of these reforms. Why we agitate for state police? We're still talking about police brutality in the 21st century. We're still talking about corruption, corrupt security officers. We're still talking about the excessiveness, of some of our personnel. We still talk about so many things that is still happening within the Nigerian police force. And so when we talk about, state police, we must look at some of those issues and put them into perspective. Today, no governor in Nigeria has been held accountable for what has become their own, to them, a retirement gratuity, which is the state security votes that is being given to them. At various points, different governors at the state level started bringing up regional security outfits, like the Egogagu or something of the past.
Ebubuagu.
And yes, Ebubuagu and all of that. That was set up. I mean, what was the sustainability? Because a governor will come and may not buy into that idea, will not go into that, and then may just scrap them. And without sustaining them, that also become another aspect of insecurity. So instead of this continuous creation of this regional security outfit, like giving an instance in Benue State, during the Governor Otom's time, there was a Benue lifeguards. Today, what is the Benue lifeguards? What is the fate of the Benue lifeguard? Are they still on the payroll of the government? The answer is no. The Governor Aisha Ntalia came in and came up with his own concept of what he believes will work for him. Unfortunately, that could not help him as well. Another governor will come, and then, like even in Plateau State, they have continued to bring up another aspect of insecurity, because when they go out of office, when they leave office, their successors usually does not take along those ideas. So now the state police would have been the well-structured and a well-recognized brand that all state governors would have patronized. While there is a fear of state actors hijacking the activities of their structures, I think we should look at the larger picture of their benefit to the communities, because without a police structure, well-structured police in this country, we do not still have a country. The reason why we can also say that state police should be given approval, that direct approval without certain reforms in the police system, is because we are still in the 21st century where the people do not still trust their police. Today, they tell you that bail is free. Uncle Yori, do you go to any division, any command, and go and pick somebody that tell you that bail is free without having an IPO asking you for a token of 20, 30, depending on the crime? Do you understand? They bail you depend on the crime. So these are the issues that we must look at. We talk about the community trust. What is state police? State police is going to embody community policing as well. And so what is even community policing? Is it not the community versus the police? And so when there is no trust from the community to the police, how do you now have an effective community policing? And then how do you now transcend that to become a state policing? How do you even now govern a state or police a state that does not even have trust in your establishment, that does not have trust in your processes and in your activities? So it is becoming too worrisome that our current police structure need to be rejigged. We need to have first accountability. The issues of corruption has to be sorted out. We talk about the trust. We must first begin to rebrand and launder the image of the force, the police force, before we can now talk about trust. How long will we now travel along the states? You will see that our police in the 21st century are still getting, peanuts, still collecting money from bribes, taking bribes from the motorists. This is another issue that we must talk about. You can even have a full load of arms, in a trailer, and what you need to do is just to bring your left hand, out of the window, and then the moment they see 1,000 or 500 naira, you hear the normal slogan, "Clear road for the Sabi driver." So how do we now begin to talk about policing and trusting our life into these people's hands with this kind of activities? So the police force has a lot of things to do, and it must not be with the rank and file. It also has to have to do from the top, from the Inspector General of Police. As he refused to start taking returns from AIGs, DIGs from various rooms, is he also free from corruption, promotion in the force? Is he based on merit? So the thing is, the government, Mr. President, His Excellency President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whom I understand is an administrator, being a governor, a senator, who understands the activities of the force over the years, will not just go and say, I've thrown my weight behind state policing and so therefore let it happen. When he has not even been able to, call the governors to account for bailout funds that have been given over the years. And despite increased taxations and all of that, that they have given enough money to the state governors, nothing has still changed. They still tell you that they don't have, they don't have the power over the commissioner of police. But I give you an instance. In Benue State, when there was killing in Yelwata, nothing happened until protesters came on board. And in less than minutes, just in a jiffy, you see helicopters were deployed. The police commissioners was there. And then they started dispersing peaceful protesters. These are state governors that chair executive meetings, state security meetings, but they still claim that they don't have capacity to non-structured, mobilize, utilize the security vote effectively to reach out to those that you need to get to so that they can act. But until when there's a problem, that is when they are going to dispatch, unfortunately for these state commissioners, dispatch them like they are attack dogs to go and dispatch these people. That day they have the capacity to call the commissioners. But they don't have the capacity to call the commissioners, to call the state directors of DSS together and say, gentlemen, let's end insecurity in my state. They keep hiding under the cover of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces is the one in charge of the security. Forgetting the fact that security or governance has to come from the government, from the federal, the state, and the local government. So they don't understand this concept. The only concept they understand is coming to Abuja to come and collect security vote without utilizing the security vote. So the issue of state policing has to do with reforms. Until those reforms are meet up, we cannot talk about state policing effectively at this point.
Okay, let me take that. Thank you very much, Dr. Jonathan Onoja. Let me take this to Dr. Tony Ofoyeton, who is standing by on the program as well. And you just heard, what your colleague, your professional colleague, to the extent that both of you are experts in security, you just heard his view. And this is against the backdrop of the president himself has said that he is busy reviewing all aspects of security. So I imagine that a lot that Dr. Onoja sort of spoke about, the president, between him, the president himself, his knowledge, and his advisors, would also have thought about this matter. And the president has said that we must have state police, and that he is reviewing all aspects of security. So I suppose this goes back to what Dr. Onoja was talking about, that some things need to be done. Apparently, the president is there. Would you agree with that, Dr. Ofoyeton?
Uncle Yori, my own take about this whole thing is devoid of the shortcomings of the police as it is now. The police is not perfect, and there are a lot of issues. And while we are concentrating on the defect, we should not also forget the fact that the advantages of the police outweigh its disadvantages. That's one area. But for now, the main thing I want us to look at is there is already this decision by Mr. President to say state police, that is the way to go now.
Yes.
Anything that would encourage Mr. President, that is the place I am. But what will bring the idea down and antagonists and the like, don't forget that terrorists and criminals are not really excited about this. And those people that are funding terrorism in this country, they are not excited about this. So they really want the voice of antagonism to be louder. And that is one area we must be relatively careful about. Yes, I agree to the extent that we have a lot of charlatans, and it's applicable to all our security agencies. But the officers they also have higher level of refined officers. But the main thing that is on the table now is there is the proposal for state police. What's the modus operandi? What advice do we have to give the president? Yes, the training must be thorough. especially with respect to just two things: skill acquisition and attitudinal change. And the issue of attitudinal change will have to, right from the level of recruitment, it must not be on reference of the obas, the emirs, the politicians, the who is who. If it is based on merit and those that naturally love the work of policing that are going in there, the result will be different. Then, of course, at all state level, they should raise the minimum bar. Not this one that JAMB will be saying that cut off about 400 will be 100. No. It should be, policing should be for those that are extremely intelligent. It should be for those that have temperate mindset. It should not be for every Dick and Harry. Once that is done, the foundation is well laid. Well, of course, we can build on any other thing, because the police we are talking about, they belong to the society called Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are not going to bring them from any other place. They are all Nigerians. They are part and parcel of us. Have our character, behave the way we behave. There's nothing extraneous about police that an average Nigerian don't do outside, except for the fact that they use the uniform to intimidate. Some of them use the uniform and all those stuff like that to intimidate. But having said so, the foundation is what Mr. President should look into. Thorough training, professionalism in the handling of weapons, and especially when it also comes to the issue of interrelationship between citizen and the police formation should be such that it is impeccable. Let the people believe that police is truly their friend, and let there be punitive measure for those that erred. And such punitive measure should be such that is glaring to the people. It's glaring to the public, not the type that even you discipline them behind, we are not seeing it, we are not knowing it. But when the police know that if they discipline me, people will know, then they would also do what? They will also renege. The good thing also is that technology is also helping. Whether we believe it or not, whether we like it or not, technology has helped to remold the mindset of an average policeman on the road today. You don't see them with that impetus, like in those days when they can do and undo, because they know that somebody very far away can zoom their camera and record whatever is happening from a very far distance. They are also very careful now. So now if we are not going to have a state policing system in a society where technology is evolving, is fastly developing, the youth are technologically conscious, I think it will be better than the 80s, the 60s, and even the 90s. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, it is a good development that all of us in totality, not just support, but push the president to hastily do what? Enact it.
Dr. Ofoyeta. Dr. Onaja, the president has said that we are looking at this, talking about this whole idea, we police, state police, we are looking at this holistically. This is after he had made the statement that I have to have state police. There seems to be the resolve behind that statement of, if whatever I do in this my service, I have to establish state police. And he also then said that we are looking at it holistically. So a lot of the things that you brought up, and indeed that Dr. Ofoyeta also is talking about, I feel very sure that the president, with his experts around him, maybe men of your ilk, he will not be unaware of all these pitfalls if care is not taken. He won't let them be pitfalls. Are you satisfied, especially with the president's assertion that we have to have state police and we are looking at it holistically, and we will do everything necessary? So those points, don't you think that they can be taken up effectively?
We all know that the current president we have, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a man of wisdom, and is a technocrat. So he has put certain things together. He has seen the challenges. He has also seen the merits. And for that statement, not as if he does not understand all that we have said. Mm-hmm. I'm also sure that those reforms which I earlier mentioned,
Yes.
His Excellency will consider those reforms.
Yes.
And those reforms must be implemented first, because you can't put the cart before the horse.
No.
You can't be talking about state policing and then you say let that be done first before you now return back to begin to talk about trainings and all of that.
No, but
Why,
sir, sorry to interrupt you. He said he was reviewing all aspects of security.
Exactly. I understand that those reviews are not to say that those reforms will not be done. Those reviews, I am sure and I'm convinced that it also encapsulate reforms in holistically before talking about, you know, the state policing as itself. Why state policing offers a promising pathway to Nigerian security, no doubt about it. I must say that at the moment, from my reviews, from my research, that Nigeria, under the current Nigerian police force, is not ripe for state policing. And that's my position.
Okay.
Until those reforms are done, and we must take cognizance of what I have mentioned earlier, that in a Nigeria, like my colleague talked about, we have not been able to digitalize our checkpoints. We have not centralized our security technology to know what is happening. Today, like I earlier mentioned, if we have here in this country, you go to a division, and whether a suspect is molested or molested to death by any IPO, you can't prove it. Because we don't even have a closed-circuit television that is wired to the office of the Inspector General of Police to check, to know what is happening in the divisions.
Okay.
Up till now, we talk about technology.
Our
checkpoints have not been digitalized.
Okay.
So if
I get your
a
point.
policeman is even extorting you, you see videos of what is happening across the state, across the country, where police officers are involving themselves in fights with with harmless Nigerians over issues of bribe. So if we don't sort all those things out in the future, we cannot have an effective state policing. We are only going to be promoting or elongating the evil days.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jonathan Onoja. The operative word there is
thank you,
if. If. Okay, then. And Dr. Tony Ofoyeton, you know, I guess we're actually looking at both two sides of this coin. On the one hand, Dr. Onoja is warning us about all these things that we have to take care of beforehand. But Dr. Ofoyeton, a last word? A quick last word, very, very quick last word.
Well, I think my own last word is that, you know, if you look at what happened in Lagos State, the tax reform in Lagos State that, you know, gave Lagos State a, you know, geometric increase in tax income.
Yes.
Subsequently, other states now adopted that same policy. So if you talk about state policing, there are states in this country that would lead. Lagos State today is more or less like digitalized to a large extent in many of its activities, including traffic management. And many other states are also following. So it means that if we have state police, there are those that will take the lead and there are those that will follow.
We're going to have to leave it there, Dr. Ofoyeton. I really do apologize to you. We're going to have to leave it there. But I do want to thank you very much, Dr. Ofoyeton and Dr. Onoja, both of you gentlemen. Thank you very much for, you know, throwing light on this issue. Of course, we'll follow it. And I seem to think that both Dr. Onoja and Dr. Ofoyeton will be talking about this as we go on, as we go ahead. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.